Hey, welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with. It's the interview series presented by WFPK at WFPK.org. Consequence and the Consequence Podcast Network. Thanks for making your way here. For checking out the series, of course, you know what to do. If you like what you see, what you hear, hit that subscribe button. I put out new interviews just like this one every single week. You can also grab us in the old podcast land. Spotify, Apple Podcast, NPR, WFPK.org, Consequence, or of course, right here on YouTube for the video versions. Anywhere you get your podcast from, you can subscribe to Kyle Meredith with. That's me, Kyle Meredith, today talking with Kevin Bacon and Jennifer Nettles about the Prime series, The Bondsman. In fact, they've done an album together. Let's read about The Bondsman first. Hub, played by Kevin Bacon, is a backwoods bounty hunter who comes back from the dead with an unexpected second chance at life, love, and a nearly forgotten musical career, only to find that his old job now has a demonic new twist. I went into it blind. I didn't even know that much. Loved every single second of it. Blumhouse puts it out, so that kind of gives you, if you understand, it's horror but not scary. It's funny. It's very heartwarming on top of it, and there's a lot of music in it. In fact, Jennifer, who is the lead singer of Sugarland, one of the lead singers of Sugarland, does play a musician. It turns out it's one of the very first times that she's done this. Of course, you've been seeing her in Righteous Gemstones. She just also did The Exorcist. So we're going to talk about the journey to her finally playing a musician. Of course, Kevin, who's been on the show before with his brother Mike, as the Bacon Brothers, no stranger to the musical side either. And I want to hear about this album that they did. The album is called Hell and Back. Some of the songs are in the series. Some of the songs didn't make it, so the album gets to stand on its own. All of the songs are written from the perspective of the characters. All that and more as we talk about The Bondsman. It's Kyle Meredith with Kevin Bacon and Jennifer Nettles.
How you doing? Hi,
Hey.
Jen.
How's it
I,
going?
it's good. It's good. I like your background. That's cool.
Thank you. It's just like heaven by The Cure.
Oh,
Oh,
nice. Jennifer, it's good to meet you. Kevin, this is the second time we've done this year. So with your brother just last year. So it's good to see you
mhm.
again.
Nice to see you.
The Bondsman to Hell and Back, the to Hell or Back. Uh the album. You guys did an album together from this show. And it's so much fun to listen to. And I got to say about the show too, The Bondsman. I went into it blind. I didn't read anything. I
So did we. We just that was all improv.
it's such it is such an interesting kind of setup. What did that look like? Like, did they pitch the whole thing to both of you? Like, did you exactly know what it was before you saw the script? Is that something you get surprised when you see the script?
I was on a little bit before Jen. I didn't know really anything about it. I didn't get any kind of a pitch. I've worked with Blumhouse a bunch, and so Jason just texted me and said, "I got. I want you to take a look at this. It's a pilot." And I read it and called him back 20 minutes later and said, I'm in. I mean, I didn't even know really anything about where the season was going to go, or there was no cast, no director. So it was just that voice that, and that world that I just thought was cool.
Yeah. Jennifer, for you too. I mean, you come from the music background, you get to play a musician. I would think that makes things easier. Is that the case?
It's interesting as I've been expanding into the TV and film world over the past 10 years. I've had multiple offers for projects in which my character would be a musician.
Hmm.
And it makes sense, right? And yet I would never take them because I felt like it's going to have to be something really special that's going to make me take on a a project like that. I mean, granted, Gemstones, obviously, Amy Lee Gemstone is she sings and stuff, but it's like that's not her character. Her
Hmm.
character is the preacher's wife, But um, specifically to be a musician, I was like, it's going to take something special because I felt like as an actor establishing myself, either way you lose. Like, because if you do it well, then everybody's going to say, well, she's just playing herself. Of course she can be a musician, And if you do it poorly, then they're going to be like, oh my God, she acts so poorly, she can't even play a musician. So I was just like, that doesn't feel like a really meaningful setup for me. So I had turned down, different projects with that setup. And yet when this project came along, just like Kevin said, when I read it, I was
Mhm.
like, oh, this is good. Like this is good on its own. You know what I'm saying? Like music aside. And then when I learned that he and I would have the opportunity to write some stuff and pitch some stuff for the actual show, that felt super cool to me because I don't know anybody else that's really doing that right now.
Mhm.
And and maybe other people have, Kev, like over the years in the industry, but I don't know of anybody like for people who are writing music for a character within a show as the characters. I think it's super unique.
Yeah.
And I might add that when it came to the looking for the person to play Marianne, we never said we just have to find a musician or a songwriter or a singer because all of those things are so much they're important, and it's such a it's such a cherry on top of the sundae that Jennifer is such a great writer and such an incredible singer, but she was cast because she was the person for the part, 100%. There were plenty of people that wanted this part that had never played or couldn't sing a lick, and the plan was always, well, let's we'll work that out later. So it was just like, wow, this is we really stepped in honey.
Thanks, friend. Likewise, too. P.S. Because in addition to reading it, then obviously knowing that Kevin was attached to it was
When you've got to write, so you like at what point in the process does that actually happen that you realize we are going to write songs? I mean, where did that come along?
Well, the first song we wrote was Hellenback, and we wrote that like what, a couple months before we started shooting, I think, right?
yeah, maybe.
And there was some discussion about what the music in the show would be, both in terms of original stuff and the needle drops. And somebody long before uh, Jennifer was cast, somebody said, "Well, maybe knowing that I was a writer, maybe you could write. We could put you together with some people in Nashville, and." You could, write some stuff for the show. And honestly, it really was not my idea. I mean, I was thrilled, but I said to the all the creatives and all of our producers, I'm really happy to do that, but please don't do me a favor by putting something that's subpar in the show just to make the star happy. I care too much about music and I care too much about the show to have that happen. And in fact, as you know from the record that Jen and I made, multiple songs got rejected.
Hmm.
And that's a pretty good indication that the songs that we wrote that made it in there, were supposed to be in there. And that's part of the why where this record idea came from, because we liked them and we were like, shit, let's cut them.
Yeah,
right?
we had so much fun too writing. I was like, well, first of all, Kevin is a fantastic songwriter and an amazing storyteller and lyricist. And I knew of his work before the show, but I had never worked with him as a musician.
Mhm.
And you never know when you're going into these kinds of things like, okay, well, what is the creative chemistry going to be? What is, how are we going to collaborate together? What is that flow going to be? And it was so free and so easy. And the songs that we came up with, just as he was saying, we loved so much that we were like, well, here's the thing. This music can live.
Mhm.
It is of this world. It is born of this world and inspired of this world, but it can live outside of this world on its own. And so we were like, let's make a record and see, regardless, let's make a record of these songs.
And it just adds so many layers, especially to, us as viewers, as fans, as you world build inside this to live like that. And I think there is something special about every single individual song on here. I mean, starting with that title track, Hell and Back. right from the beginning, that line, I ain't Johnny, you ain't June, but I'd go to hell and back for you. I'm like, and the lyrics to that are so good. I mean, it had to be so much fun to write that song. How were you all batting that one around?
Jen sent me Jen sent me the first basically the first verse and I mean it's almost like it's almost like a song without choruses in a way, right? I mean it's kind of she sent me that first thing right there. I was like, all right, well this one's done. Uh, and then we just got together and I don't know, just kind of fleshed it out a little bit more and put a bridge on and stuff. But that was just her just went hell and back. I mean, it's like done.
It was fun, and they all were a little bit different, in the process because we wrote them at different parts of our process. That one came very early on, so there was some volley back and forth. We would send voice notes back and forth. Then we would get in the room together. Then once we got, into the actual show, we were there already, on set together. We were there in Atlanta together, so we would get together in person.
Yeah.
It's
Uh,
it was really interesting exercise, one that I don't think I've ever done before. As an actor, I like to go back and do a lot of whether it helps my performance or not, I don't know, but I like to think about backstory and the history of characters and build just kind of build a backstory world either with what's in the script or with what the writers may suggest or just stuff out of my imagination. But I've never gone back and tried to write a song from a character's perspective years before this happened. And in the show, he hasn't picked up a guitar in whatever it is, 15 years. So just as an acting exercise, it was amazing. It
hmm.
was so fun. It was so interesting to go. Who was Hub, when he was in his 20s and 30s and,
And so
40s.
many cool songs came out of that exploration for us. I mean, the digging this grave, I feel like was one of those, and special kind of crazy,
Kind of
I feel
crazy,
like
yeah.
is one of those too.
By the way, when I heard Diggin', 10 seconds into that song, I went, I wonder if he wrote this one with his brother.
Yeah,
It's got your all thumbprints all over that. That's
yeah, totally, yeah.
in the best ways. I love that. And I love the idea because that's always been a thing for me. If because it doesn't happen often to both of your credit, what you're saying there. But my thought is if you're an actor who is also a musician and you write, like the opportunity that's there when you're looking for material to write from a character's perspective and what you could come out with that. Like I'm surprised it doesn't happen more because I really love it when it does. I don't know, it adds something
Yeah.
to
Well, it
whatever that
doesn't
is.
happen more because people can't do it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like that is something that is so rare, at least to be a good songwriter.
Mhm.
It's things that for people like me and Kevin who have done it for so long, like you spend it is a craft on which you spend lifetimes working. So I definitely think it could be fun for anybody as an exercise, for sure. I think it would be enriching for any project and for any actor if one has those skill sets. But I think this project is really special just because it brings together years and years of collective musicianship and storytelling.
Yeah. By the way, Woe Death, it's got it. I was trying to pinpoint it. It's almost got this like House of the Rising Sun quality to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it
Mm,
has a lot of like, I mean, this show was set the first season in Appalachia, and it has a lot of Irish on it, um, in that way, those minor Irish, folk songs that eventually came to the holler, that eventually turned into hymns, that eventually, it has a lot of that on it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of my favorite moments. And of course what you guys did to the circle, will the circle be unbroken? It's such a special moment in that and just hearing the way you all sound together on that. I mean, it's beautiful moments. In the show and alone. And outside of the music, because I know I only got a minute here, I'll also say, Kevin, I don't think it's the first time that you've done the Southern drawl, but does a lot of lifting for the character as well. I'll say that.
You
No,
get
it's
the
gotta
authentic
be.
thumbs up.
I was I was very lucky to have both Jen and Beth Grant, in my ear all the time, as well as where we shot. We were down in Sonoy, Georgia, and so the second you hop into the van, it's going to be right there in your ears. That's I'm very very lucky in that way.
Yeah. I'm in Louisville in Kentucky, and it doesn't take me long to pull that accent back out if I need, if I'm talking to someone, and I'm pretty sure just listening to you in the show had me pulling it back out too. So it's well done. Well done on
Oh,
that. Um, I love this. I can't wait to see where the show goes from here. You guys have set it up really nicely, and this whole world that you're building, and the soundtrack itself. I hope we get to see some more live performances from you all out and about on this one. I don't know if that's possible, but
That'd be
yeah.
fun.
Yeah, we would like to. I was really lucky to in Austin. I'm actually near Austin right now, but uh, Sugarland was very nice to invite me to do a song with them in Austin. It was really really fun, and it was a big ass crowd too, so that was great.
thank you so much, both of you all, for taking the time to talk about it. Congrats on the work and everything, and we'll see you around.
Thank you.
And thanks to my guest. Also, thanks to you for checking out the episode in the series. Before you get out of here, hit that subscribe button. Again, you get 3 brand new interviews every single week. New one every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at right here on YouTube, or of course anywhere in podcast land, including iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, NPR, or WFPK.org as well. A great way to keep up with your favorite artists and discover new ones as well. Then after that, actually head over to WFPK.org. That's where I do a show Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern. It's an hour full of song premieres, music news, anniversary spins, bonus interviews, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern at WFPK.org. Consequence has your music and film news. You can also find me on the social media spots, Facebook, Instagram, mostly on Twitter. All 3 of them, the address is at Kyle Meredith. Do hope you like and follow along. That does it for another edition. I'm Kyle Meredith. I'll see you next time.